everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest is somebody I've known for quite a while. But I would say about the last 9 years, going on almost 10 now, believe it or not. It's fucking crazy. It's been that long to even sit here and think about it. But it is SCUM. SCUM is one of those guys that you see the imagery of what he does and what his label LSP does. And it looks really brutal. And I think the first time I met him was, oh man, I forget the tour name. I think it was Welcome to the Underground. I don't know. He was support for Twisted at the time. It was the very first Twisted show I ever booked. And that was the first time I ever like met him face to face, right? And yeah, it was like I was kind of intimidated, if that makes sense. Because like I was still pretty brand new to like meeting these people and for lack of better terms, for those who don't know what this term is, I was kind of a mark when it comes to that kind of stuff. I wasn't hip to the game. And I was still pretty fresh. It was an exciting time, but at the same time, I didn't really know how to behave, right? And I didn't know a lot about all these people. So when I met him, I was thinking he was going to be like this dark, real brooding character, because when you look at the imagery, that's what you get. And that's not what I got at all from him. He's one of the coolest dudes I ever came in contact with. And like I said, the imagery itself is very brutal, very dark, but him as a person was refreshing to meet somebody so cool. So yeah, I've always enjoyed running into him, and whether it be passing by and stops, which has happened before, or booking them directly. It's always been a real pleasure being around him. So when he agreed to do this podcast, I was very happy because, like I said, I just got a lot of respect for him and a real good dude. So anyway, enough of my babbling. Let's go ahead and get to my sponsors, and we'll get into the episode with my boy SCUM. L's up. All right, everybody, it's time to stop and let you know about today's sponsor of the show, Crazy Martin's in Piqua, Ohio, one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to. Crazy Martin's has provided their customers with quality products for over 20 years, from ashtrays to water pipes and everything in between. Stop in, check out their selection, and of course, check out their pinball machines. With over 20 pins to choose from, there is something for everyone. Crazy since 1996. I don't just say this about every place. I love going to Crazy Martin's. I've always loved going to Crazy Martin's ever since I was of age to go to Crazy Martin's. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. Me and my wife go there almost every Sunday to play pinball machines. It is one of the funnest spots in Ohio you could possibly find. It is in Piqua, Ohio. Check out their website at www.crazymartins.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I am your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, I have got one of the people that I find most interesting in the underground. He is an entrepreneur and an innovator in underground music, the founder of Lyrical Snuff Productions. He's a man who, one of the few men anyway in the underground who could say that he carved his own path doing his own art the way he wanted to do it. And to be honest, he's one of the few people in the underground that I've heard nobody say one negative word about. So that speaks volumes to who he is as a person, a businessman, and overall OG in the game. He is SCUM, my dude. What is going on, brother?
Man, great to be on your show. Just getting ready for the tour. Rehearsal time. Take a break, chop it up with you, do some more rehearsing.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this, my man. Well, like I said, we talked a little bit before I hit record here, and basically what I want to do today is I just kind of want to get your background. I want to get your story. I kind of want to get because you intrigue me. As I said at the beginning of this opener, we've crossed paths many a times. I've booked you here in Dayton. We've crossed paths on tours, all that kind of stuff. When I was with Minister Sobriety, whether I be working for George and Twisted on one of their tours, driving the budget truck, whatever it might be. We've crossed paths, but
multiple times over many years.
Absolutely. It's been about 9 at this point for me. It's crazy to even fucking think about. But I want to get again, you intrigue me because it's very rare for somebody like you to come around who is like, I'm gonna do this my way, I'm gonna do my art the way I see fit, I'm gonna ignore any criticism, and I'm gonna present my product and be successful at it. And you have been. So I kind of want to start at the very beginning and get just your background of basically this start of you and who you are.
Gladly, man. You know what I'm saying? Any questions you have, I'll gladly answer. Now, just for the record, you know what I'm saying? The criticism does get, on the outside, I'd be smiling, but on the inside, I'd be crying myself to sleep sometimes and shit. So, you know what I'm saying? When you motherfuckers post some fucking hateful ass shit on one of my videos or on one of my songs, and I'll be like, man, that shit don't phase me none. Just know, if I see you fucking drowning, I might step on your head.
Okay, all right, we're already getting deep. That's what's up. Well, what's a little bit? Give us a little bit of story about Little Scum and how you came to be one of the players in Denver.
Dog, honestly, I mean, Lil Scum lived in a whole different world, a whole different country and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Sure,
Like, fucking, growing up in Moscow was way different and shit. Fucking, a lot of the realities of, you know what I'm saying, living in this country for the last 25 or so years and shit, fucking, shit was different, man, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even know I was poor when I was a kid and shit. You don't find out that till you get around people who fucking remind you of that. And that didn't happen till I
sure.
came here. So, you know, um, that was, I come here and shit. I don't speak no English. I ain't got no money. I fucking, you know what I'm saying? I wear glasses and shit. I should be wearing them right now. I just, I don't even give a fuck no more. I like pleasant blurs. But, so just getting used to shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking realizing that you got to hustle to fucking, to make yours. I've never been like super money hungry, but at the same time, I know you need certain things and shit fucking, or life is going to be fucking extra lame here. Like I said, so, realizing, be like, man, I guess I don't have it as good as I thought. And then, having to learn the language, people are like, was it hard? I'm like, man, when you're a teenager and shit and fucking, your mind revolves around fucking alcohol, drugs, and pussy, and you can't get any of those three and shit fucking without at least being able to communicate it, you're going to fucking learn. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
fucking, when thrown in the river, you will swim or you will drizzle. you know? Just how it goes. Um, always fucked with music and shit. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather was a full time professional touring musician, the whole different music, of course. But I always wanted to be a fucking. I was a metal kid, so I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to fucking, what I'm saying, like fucking do the hardest shit ever. And then I learned a few realities. I suck at playing instruments. Um, I've tried, the guitar, fucking drums, all of that. Just really wasn't me, and shit wasn't that good. I accepted it. You know what I'm saying? The first step to recovery is acknowledging you have a problem. I've acknowledged I suck at fucking playing instruments. And I was like, cool, maybe that's not for me. I did vocals, doing some grindcore and fucking like death noise and all sorts of fucking like weird, deep underground shit. From like 96 to 98, we put out a few cassettes. I really didn't go that far with it, but at least it taught me underground is underground. It doesn't matter what genre of music you are, you know what I'm saying? It
sure.
gets you
Yeah,
used to fucking, get into a fucking building that's condemned and falling apart and shit. There's a fucking spray painted arrow. You follow the spray painted arrow, you get to the hole in the ground, you climb down the stairs, and that's where the concert is. So, you know, you get used to that mentality and shit. You get used to, I guess, being humble and shit, man. Because, as a kid, you go fucking see, my first metal concert was Slayer and shit. And you're like, that's what metal concerts are. No, that's what bigger metal concerts are and shit. Then you go fucking, see Anal Cunt fucking, and there might be 30 people there. Then you're like, okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it taught me a lot fucking to appreciate what we have and shit and not be like fucking sitting there pouting because fucking, you know, everybody's fucking first experience playing the gathering back in the day was like, what I'm saying, you fucking, you fucking, you get that opportunity and you're watching all these videos of the clowns rocking the main stage and you're like, this is going to be amazing. And you get there and you're on at 2:30 p.m. on the third stage, sun is beating, there's like 30 juggalos there and shit fucking, and you're like, that's not what I seen on video. So,
right.
like I said, it's important, being humbled is a very fucking important essential step to being an artist because I feel there's already way too many fucking artists in general in every genre and shit. Like everybody wants to be a musician, so
Yeah.
it's important, fucking, to thin the herd. And so,
Yeah.
the obstacles and shit is what fucking determine whether a motherfucker is gonna keep doing it or still do it, but do it more as a hobby and be like, I don't want the struggles and shit. I just like making music. Or flat out quit, be like, oh, that's not what I thought this was going to be. A lot of kids play ball, not a lot of people end up in the NBA. So and there's been a lot of fucking those lessons and obstacles to overcome over the years. So, as far as us starting LSP and shit, it was my brother Seville, rest in peace, and myself, who eventually, like after a year or two of dabbling with the rap shit, didn't want to dabble with the rap shit, but he believed in me, so he was like, "Yo, I'll handle the financials, I'll take care of all that shit. You just rap." So, the first 7 years of being on LSP for me, I was a rapper and I loved it. Great times, fucking nothing but a party and shit. And until Seville passed and I inherited all the headaches, and I was like, oh shit, there's a lot that comes to running a label, fucking. But that came a lot later. But when we started the label. By yet another humbling experience, recorded our demo, sent it to fucking all the big labels in that particular time that even dabbled with horrorcore and fucking wicked shit. Didn't get no responses because the demo was pretty fucking horrible and shit. Like, if I got it and shit at the best, it would not nowadays. If I could like send myself my first demo and shit from fucking '99 through fucking space and time and shit. At the best, it would become a weed tray. So, what I'm saying? I don't hate anybody for being like, I can't believe they didn't give me a chance. No, I wasn't that good. But same thing. The crossroads, the humbling moment. Do you say, nobody wants me, so I guess I'll just go fuck myself and fuck off? Or we're like, no, fuck that. They don't understand good music. We're going to start our own label.
Yeah.
We're going to
Right.
reinvent the wheel. We're going to do it all different and shit. So, that was the humble origins of LSP and shit. Initially, first it was just the two of us. Then we signed some artists, and linked up with a couple of groups out here in Colorado. Then we started doing out of state shows. Then fucking, what I'm saying, Dark Half and Smalls. And then when Seville passed, like I said, that was yet another crossroads for me. It was like, yo, do I focus all my energy on being me, the artist? Because by that time, I actually was pretty confident with my material. Seville died right as Dinner Served was going to press. So album was well received. It was like, yo, focus on that or pick up all of his responsibilities and duties and shit, because we have an obligation to people we brought onto the camp and pretty much just fucking try to figure it all out. And here we are, fucking, 24 years of LSP, 150 some releases. But we're self taught and everything. I never went to fucking college for this shit. But with everything, recording myself, I just fucking around trying to figure it out, touring, fucking around
Mhm.
trying to figure it out, running a label,
Yeah.
fucking around trying to figure it out, still learning every time and shit. Fucking like, you know, experience definitely helps, but when you stop learning, I think is when you fucking crumble because a lot of the shit that fucking used to work 10 years ago don't work no more and shit. Fucking
Yeah.
the music industry of fucking underground mainstream, it's all fucking gonna evolve and evolve and evolve. And so when an artist is like, no, I know it all and shit, within 10 years they actually don't know shit because everything they know is
Right.
fucking obsolete.
Even now we're in the middle of something like that with the whole TikTok and the government and all that kind of stuff and them shutting it down. There's people that have dedicated their lives to learning TikTok. If the government says no more TikTok, there's going to be a lot of people who were making money and their main source of income was TikTok that's going to have to start from scratch all over again.
And
So
same
that's
thing,
exactly
they're either
right.
gonna
Yeah.
evolve with whatever the new TikTok will be,
Right.
or they're gonna be like, fuck it, I'm just getting a normal job. I
Yeah.
remember
Right.
for us, okay, we're both of us are pre TikTok era and shit, but I'm sure we were both
Yeah.
there for the fucking crumble and fucking downfall of MySpace, which at the
Oh yeah.
time was the main fucking social media
Yeah.
platform for all musicians. We got bookings through there, we sold features through there, we sold merch through there. When that
Yeah.
shit crumbled, like when I was starting, there was no social media shit like those forums. Fucking you'd go on
Yeah.
horrorcore.com and shit, and it fucking, start your day by reading about how you should kill yourself because your raps suck, because it was very negative. That's how forums usually work. Same thing, fucking fighting that temptation, be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to kill myself today and shit. I'm going to record another song and I'm going to upload it to this fucking forum for y'all to talk about. You know what I'm saying? But then
Yep.
MySpace came and it changed the game, and all of a sudden, like, all the forums died. And fucking everybody was like, yo, this is the new hotness. There's fucking, you can upload, you can network with motherfuckers, upload your music, do all sorts of cool shit. Plus, for once, it felt like it was your website. Like, if they went to your
Yeah.
MySpace, they were fucking with your shit. They weren't just going to horrorcore.com or Kill Music or,
Yep.
Juggalo forums, whatever. And so, made you feel like you're somebody. And fucking, and, our MySpace was cracking towards the end of it. And then once that folded, same thing. Like, yo, I don't want to start over, but you
Right.
just move on to fucking whatever is happening now, platforms wise and shit. And, you keep it moving and you keep it moving. And sometimes, by the time we're like, man, this new thing is kind of hot and shit, everybody is fucking with it. By the time if you don't get on it right away and shit, like, I'm like, yeah, I guess I should check that shit out. They're already shutting it down. Like, so
Yeah. Right.
you don't
Yep.
even know what's
And
gonna last.
the thing about MySpace, to your point, as far as MySpace helping artists, that's what it was designed to do. And I think a lot of people forget that because it became such a huge platform for not only artists, but for the everyday human being. But one of the things that I always, this is one of the reasons why I hate the fact that MySpace isn't around anymore. There was
Same.
a area that you could go to where it would give you like the list of the top 100 artists in your area.
Mhm.
And that's how people in your area would find you. And if you were a good enough hustler, granted, you could fake some of those numbers, but it was usually pretty easy to tell when somebody had one song and it had like 150,000 plays, and then the one underneath of it has like 30. You know what I'm saying? You could always tell the person who bought their own plays. But for
You still
everyone else,
can.
yeah, you still can, right? Yeah, absolutely. But they had these charts set up in such a way that if anybody wanted to look for new musicians in your area, boom, they look it up. I remember I got a lot of connections through that way. And so when that went away, man, that was a huge hit on the entire music community, and I don't think it's fully recovered because it was able. I mean, I got hit the wolf pack that way. I know I was connected to you that way for a fact. I know I was connected to you that way, and it was just as simple as going and looking at like pages similar to ICP and stuff, and it was suggestion, and that's how was able to find all these people. It took that tool away, which really sucked. But on that same tip, granted, you said LSP started way before MySpace, so it couldn't have been that. But how did you get hip to the horrorcore scene? Was it something you just kind of adapted to yourself? Or because me living in Dayton, we were blessed in the mecca of horrorcore and all that kind of
Right.
stuff here being on I-75. How did it reach all the way out there to you guys, or did it?
It did, but what I'm saying, some of the shit that I have kind of a backwards story of it. Like I said, I was a metal kid, so first it was just
Right.
even getting into rap and shit, and for that, I got to fucking shout out like Body Count and Onyx and shit.
Mm,
That crossover shit that you could still fucking mosh to, but it was rap. It was definitely not like Limp Bizkit. It was real rap. Um, you know what
right.
I'm saying? Fucking which, hey, no hate, first Limp Bizkit fucking tour and shit. I remember when we went to go see Ice Cube, and it was the new era of kids that actually were respectful in mosh pits, and they would try to shove you with open hands. So we're in there throwing elbows, had a great time. I was like, God bless Limp Bizkit. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for bringing us new victims. Um, but as far as so that first it was getting into rap in general. Then fucking, as far as
Yeah.
like the wicked shit goes, um, Colorado, even though people are like mountains, cowboys, and shit, we're still fucking. If you look at the divide map, it's the West.
Yeah.
So we had more Brother Lynch Hung and Doomsday Productions side of fucking
Mm,
horrorcore and shit than fucking necessarily Midwest or East Coast horrorcore. So
yeah.
initially it'd be like, oh man, rap can get pretty fucking dark, and then the homies got me hooked on Esham, and that was fucking like Denver was a big suicidalist area. I didn't even know who ICP or Twisted were at the time and shit. With no disrespect to them, it's just how I heard of them and shit. Like, I was fucking with Isham
Sure.
and Nadas and fucking went to go see Mastermind on the Freak Show tour, fucking, and happened to fucking, they didn't even let him play. Long story, but we ended up catching Twisted, and we're like, oh, that shit's dope too. And then fucking through that, we checked it out. We're like, cool, ICP, that's dope. But as far as like, I would definitely fucking The Devil in the Moon was it for me and shit. That and Brother Lynch Hung. That's why those two artists, like in my top three influences, be fucking Esham will always be there, Brother Lynch Hung will always be there, and probably Vinny Paz because fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's another
Yes.
artist that, while it's hip hop, but it's so dark in areas, you're like, man, if anybody dabbles with horrorcore, doesn't do horrorcore, but dabbles with it, that would be Vinny over the years.
Yeah.
He said so.
This is the second time in a month I'm going to be saying this, and it's crazy because it seems like Vinny Paz is every rapper's favorite rapper for the most part. Yet somehow this man does not get the respect that he deserves
No, he
for
doesn't get
being
he does good for himself. Don't get me wrong. He does better than both of us, but at the same time, as far as how dope he is and how long he's been doing it and shit and how many people
yeah,
respect his craft, I agree with you completely. He should be playing arenas, not, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
800 seater
yeah.
venues.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy how many people have came onto the show and said his name and the fact that and I think a lot of it is the fact that in the last 20 years the climate for the most part has just been I mean, I don't look, people can hate on me if they want to for saying this, I don't care. When Cash Money Records came around and got big, rap start you could see the trend. The meaningfulness in rap started going burr. As soon as we started talking about money, cars, and bitches, rap started going down the drain, and that goes all the way back to early 2000s. So his rise with Jedi Mind Tricks, as rap's going down, Jedi Mind Tricks is going up. So you've got an audience that doesn't care about that deep shit. All they cared about was give me a project chick. They didn't care about something that was going to make you think while you listen to it. And I think that's such a shame because if people actually gave him the opportunity to enter their homes and their minds and their thoughts, they would see that this man is connected to a whole nother level. Plus, his music is dope.
Absolutely. And shit.
So that
I think, though, in a way, man, like, it gotten that way with a lot of music. And I guess you listen to different artists for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure,
Vinny,
yeah,
you actually want to check out his words. But as far as like the catchy shit, um, it's that cool background music that people like. I might not know the fucking
sure,
song, but you know what I'm saying? You're like, the head's nodding and shit, fucking. So, um,
right,
I guess defending shitty content is not me defending shitty content when it comes to like pure hip hop, but as far as just general, entertainment aspect, as somebody that fucking loves death metal and
yeah,
deathcore and grindcore, I can't fucking understand what that motherfucker's growling and squealing and shit. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds cool.
right,
Fucking, I dig it. But no, as far as like you always kept with the fucking lyricism, and I guess that okay, partially the evolution of even being into hip hop and writing my own shit. Um, I couldn't appreciate Jedi Mind Tricks when I was just getting into rap the
sure,
way I do
yeah,
now because I couldn't fucking understand half the shit he was saying. It was a little over my head and shit. Like, so the caveman rap was actually very beneficial to me because I was like, okay, I can write like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, it lets you ease into things. It was the Planet Fitness program and shit. You know what I'm saying? They can't body shame you. They can't make fun of you fucking doing curls with a fucking 10-pound fucking dumbbell and shit. So, it's the same thing. I would listen to some South Central Cartel or something, and I'm like, yeah, I can write like that, and I dig it. And I still got love for those groups that fucking like, I'm like, made me appreciate the beat and just be like, okay, if the hook is pretty catchy, you can work with the fucking 200 word
yeah,
vocabulary, and then a couple of years later, you're like, okay, I'm working with 1,000 words. I can fucking start reading chapter 2 of how to do hip hop and shit with some motherfuckers that are a little more lyrical and so forth. And sometimes
yeah,
motherfuckers get too lyrical and shit because, like when an artist goes to prison for a long time and shit, and you could tell that motherfucker spent a lot of time reading fucking dictionaries and thesauruses and shit, and they start using words that flat out are going over my head after fucking, like I said, 25, 30 years in this country to where I'm like, man, that's college level English and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it it doesn't resonate with an average listener. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah. And not only that, I think you can understand it from a different perspective too. And we'll get into the Roxy here in a couple minutes, but you got to wear the businessman hat when it comes to the show aspect. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a safe assumption to say you can look at it from different angles because of the money situation and go, okay, would this, because I know as a promoter, I did the same thing. I wanted to do nothing but book underground music, but at some point it gets to a point like, okay, I can't book ABK here every 3 months. I can't bring Twisted here every 2 months. I gotta, expand. So what? And so your mind kind of opens up to different things. Does that sound accurate to you?
absolutely. Certain bookings, I've always, if it's a tour that fucking is reasonably priced and shit, it's something that I fuck with. Sometimes I've picked up shows that fucking, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna lose a few bucks on and shit because, you know what I'm saying, I got love for the artist and fucking, I think it's something I want to bring to town and shit and fucking share with the people in my scene. But absolutely, in order to fucking keep up with the overhead, which people a lot of the times they don't understand. They're like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers are being greedy. Be like, I don't know, how it is in other parts of the country and shit, but like monthly overhead of running a venue is about 40 grand a month here and shit. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you fucking break even on every show or lose a couple of bucks on each show, you'll be out of business in the next month too.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance and shit, fucking, you know what I'm saying? They do say that, when you get into the booking business or venue fucking business and shit, fucking, first thing they tell you is you got to kill the fan in you. I've never killed the fan in me, but I knew how to fucking, when to fucking hush him aggressively. Motherfucker would be like,
Yes.
hell yeah, give them 8 grand, and fucking you're like, shut the fuck up and get back in your corner, and you're like, damn, but they're dope. They have that one song, but you know what I'm saying? Like in your head, you're like, okay, I can give them 3,500, but I can't give them seven. Um,
Hmm.
Depending on what show it is and shit. So yeah, no, it's that. It's the unfortunate fucking beware of meeting your idols fucking thing, which you definitely get to experience. You meet some motherfuckers whose music you love, and they're like, man, these motherfuckers are cool as hell in live too and shit. Now I really love their music. But then you get to meet some where you're like, man, now I just want to go fucking bounce my whole fucking CD collection under your fucking little category off the fucking wall, one disc at a time and shit, or go target practicing. So
Right.
it's rough. You have to, I don't know, I've taught myself to separate. Like I could meet an artist and be like, if it's not that bonus that they're actually fucking pretty cool in life and they're a fucking douchebag, I learned not to stop liking their music, just to be like, hey, it's just music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the
Yeah.
creation and shit. I might not go fucking catch that motherfucker on tour and shit and support them in person, but it doesn't mean I won't check out their song and shit if it's something fucking I like listening to. How many fucking piece of shit fucking actors and shit out there that made some dope ass movies? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna fucking
Yeah.
not watch American Beauty or fucking Seven and shit because Kevin Spacey's a piece of shit. He made some dope ass
Right.
movies. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's
Like, I
fair. That's
prefer
totally
to watch it
fair.
on bootleg.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy that trained me when I started working at the venue Odd Bodies in Dayton, when they still owned it, the guy that trained me as a promoter always told me never book with your heart. And if it's too hard to get, don't keep pushing it. And a lot of people go, well, yeah, that would make sense. No, no, you don't understand. Booking with your heart is going, oh, dude, I love that guy's music. I need to get them. That's booking with your heart. Booking with your mind is, oh, that guy, a lot of people like him, so I'm going to get him. Those are two completely different things because I've been burned so many times as a promoter from booking with my heart, going, oh yeah, and this isn't anything against Do or Die. They just haven't been active very long. I'm a huge Do or Die fan. So when I got the line to Do or Die to come to Dayton, I'm like, dude, I love Do or Die. Paid him 3 grand to sell 80 tickets. You know what I'm saying? And that's because why? Because I didn't think who still fucks with Do or Die. I just thought I love Do or Die, so I'm going to get them here. They were popular in the '90s, so
I still listen to them. It has to be the right package.
Oh,
I feel when
absolutely.
you, well,
Yeah.
when you do something old school and shit, fucking nowadays it's the era of like old school festivals to where like you got to give them
Yeah.
enough of those names where they're like, yep, I
Right.
have to go and shit. That's the shit that was all in my fucking car. I had all the
Yes.
tapes. I gotta go and fuck with it. But no, I totally understand and I agree with you and shit. Like I said, I feel you still have to leave a little bit of your heart in there and shit because fucking I've dealt with
Sure.
promoters
Yeah.
where I felt that like, man, you don't even fucking like music and shit, like and it makes you feel a certain way about working with them. And those are the promoters that an artist is quick to replace with a promoter that at least has some love for the scene. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
so it's finding that balance to where like, yo, like I'm doing this because I want to bring dope music to my city. At the same time, I can't fucking do it, at an L every time because you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like. It's still a
Yeah.
job. It's
Well,
still a fucking business.
yes, absolutely. Well, your venue, the Roxy in Denver, is legendary. I have been fortunate enough to be there. Been there 4 times in my life, and each time has been so fucking awesome. Two as an artist, the other two as an employee. And how did you come about? How did the Roxy come under your management, so to speak?
Well, it's I was working. Roxy is a partnership and shit between me and Troll. And we used to be local promoters, just like everybody, fucking, bringing some shows and shit, fucking to town. Probably booked a lot of the same people with you or I. Bringing shows, helping the scene grow out here and shit. Trying to make a buck in process, but not always succeeding. And Juggalo scene was kind of fucking wild back then and shit. So a lot of the times we were getting bounced from venue to venue to venue and shit. Like, you throw a couple of shows and they're like, hey, yeah, y'all handled the fucking money right and shit. You know what I'm saying? The performer was cool, but the fans fucking, you know what I'm saying, fucking destroyed the venue or fucking, threw a crazy ass fucking outdoor party for fucking 12 hours and shit. Fucking cops came like 14 times. We got 3 violations. We can't have you back. So, every few shows would get the boot from somewhere and would fucking move somewhere else in town, which was an interesting era. Pretty much, I played majority of the venues that existed back then. I've played them, and a lot of the times I'd get the spill like, "Scott, you're a really nice guy and shit. We just can't fucking have your shows, but you can come anytime. Come drink." So I'm like, all right, fucking. And Roxy was one of the spots where we were playing. We started renting it and shit. It was a fucking weird. I think it was an ABK show actually. Fucking, we got. It was supposed to be a Cervantes. It got double booked. Of course, they're like, "Hey, we have a normal show or Juggalo show. Oh, Juggalo show gets the fuck off." So we're like, "Oh, we got
Yeah.
all these tickets sold. We got the artist in town and shit. Like, the fuck do we do?" And they're like, "Well, there's a fucking Coke After Hours bar and shit down the street. Go talk to them and shit. They'll probably let you fucking rent it. We'll give you some fucking equipment if they don't have it because they fucked up and they had extra
Right.
equipment. They're like, if they don't have sound, we'll make your sound happen, but you just got to take the party down the street." So we ended up renting this place and it went good. And, we started actually throwing shows there intentionally. And about a year later, we get a call and they're like, "Hey, it's just not, we were, it was us and like a couple other promoters that were doing shows there. It just wasn't active enough. So they're like, you know what, we're going to shut this shit down. But we like you guys. You want to buy the business?" And we were like, well, we don't really have the money to buy the business, but we're like, we have like 2 or 3 places left that will even let us fucking throw shows and shit. And they're starting to throw all these clauses with additional costs. Well, how much money can you come up with? How much money So we fucking scraped together whatever bread we could and shit. We started small. A lot of fucking volunteer work and shit. Fucking friends, family, fucking helping, fucking get the place presentable because Roxy Theater in various forms been around for over 100 years. I think like 106, 107, something like that. So it's been everything and shit. Like, it was a music venue, but it was also like the first black movie theater in Denver. It was fucking,
Hmm.
during Prohibition, there was like some fucking illegal drinking and gambling going on there. That was definitely after party eras and shit. Like, it been up and down. So when we inherited it, the people that ran it was cool, but they definitely weren't trying to make it it was more of a club. It really wasn't suited as a concert hall. So we had to do a lot of you know, retracting, getting rid of some of the shit that they put in there. You know what I'm saying? We're like, no, we don't need fucking, you know what I'm saying, see through fucking cubes and shit for chicks to dance on top and shit. Like, people are going to get injured moshing fucking with those. You know, hey, these fucking, these white curtains we got to get rid of, put some black ones up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a lot of fucking extra shit. And, we stuck to it, and I mean, we're still here. It's not easy being an independent venue. There's only like two or three fucking non-corporate venues left in Denver out of probably 80. Everything is
Mm,
Live Nations, A&G, fucking, you know what I'm saying, like all sorts of fucking corporate shit. So, but we're still there, you know, still fucking staying afloat and shit, fucking wishing the corporate guys fucking to slip, falling, and, you know, on a big ass fucking penis with fucking studs. And, you know, hopefully fucking there'll always be need for underground fucking venues. I feel that, you know, while motherfuckers are like, oh, it's nice, you know, Live Nations, if they fucking book your tour and shit, they can fucking just book it all at once because fucking they own, you know, 5,000 venues or something. Yeah, it's cool if they pick up your tour, but if they don't pick up your tour and fucking, and you let them, you know, wipe out all the independents, that means you just don't get to go on tour. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's monopoly, and monopoly is fucking something that, you know, you don't want because it's all cool until motherfuckers start dictating terms and you have no way to fucking speak back. So, I've always, you know, when not hating, like I'll play fucking corporate rooms and shit when fucking, you know what I'm saying, that opportunity is there and the fucking money is right. But if there's an option to go with independent venues and shit, like places fucking, you know, even a lot of the smaller places like back in the day, you know, Allen Park fucking, you know what I'm saying, Simons, or fucking, you know, one of my favorite places in the country, Carl Tavern fucking, which is still active, thank you. You know, and
mm-hmm.
fucking like places like that where you're like, yo, like that's an underground spot. I'd rather fucking deal with, hey, there's not a green room. Or, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
fucking load in might be a fucking pain in the ass and shit. Hey, the stage is not very tall. But you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure these places stay around and shit because that's where motherfuckers can start off too and shit. Because like when we didn't have a fucking name or a following and shit, it's hard to fucking, you know, you hit up fucking a nice fucking 1,000-seater fucking venue and shit, and you're like, hey, you know, I want to do my second show here, and they're like, have you tried a garage? You know what I'm saying? Fucking, if you bring some speakers and a small generator to the park, you can usually get through about 3 or 4 songs before the cops come. So, yeah,
I,
you know, you have to fucking places that book national tours, but at the same time allow local
yeah,
showcases and things like that. Shout out to them because nobody goes from fucking house parties to arenas. I mean, okay, not nobody. I mean, you can win the lottery too, but on average, it's a gradual climb up the fucking
yeah,
ladder, you know, and we got to make sure that there's venues around for every tier of it and shit. Like COVID really fucked up touring. Before
yes,
COVID, when I booked the fucking LSP tour, I didn't even make a post half the time. I just sent a group text to fucking, you know what I'm saying, like the people that I had a network fucking, you know, and motherfuckers would reply, and I'd sit down with the map, mark off what made sense, and fucking, you know, 3 days later, we're good to announce fucking the whole run.
yeah,
COVID hit,
yeah,
venues got shut down left and right, promoters quit left and right, local openers quit left and right and shit. All of a sudden, like, we're rebuilding. Everybody is rebuilding and shit. Like, you know, even if you book a tour, it's a lot more work, and then there's a lot of places which you're like, well, we'll see how it goes. I've never worked with this motherfucker and shit. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be
right.
cool. So definitely a lot of rebuilding and shit. That was like, you know, how I was like, yeah, it's important to fucking have cullings and purges and shit, you know, so the scene don't get oversaturated. I feel like the COVID was kind of a little extreme and shit. Like, you know, it's like when you hire fucking that extra hard and thinking fucking assistant at the fucking, you know what I'm saying, cattle farm and shit, and you're like, go slaughter one cow and shit, and you get there and he's down already killed 2/3 of the population, and you're like, just one. Ah,
Mm,
you know, that's kind of how I felt. Like, I'm like, COVID was a little too much and shit. It thinned out the herd a little. I'm like, oh
yeah,
shit, we're gonna have to fucking like start, you know what I'm saying, fucking artificially inseminating this cattle and shit to fucking rebreed it. So
yeah.
that's, yeah.
Being in Menace, I don't know if I've said this publicly on this show or not. If you know me personally, you know Menace to Sobriety is no longer a band because of COVID. Because we made the decision it was going to be too hard to take that rebuild that you're talking about. I mean, granted, at the same time, we have done a lot. You know, the Menace to Sobriety was main stage in gatherings at Cave and Rock way before, you know, I had even joined. So that's we've been on tours, we've done the shows. COVID came around, we were all kind of like, yeah, we're not none of us want to rebuild that climb because we knew what it was going to take. We knew exactly what you just said was going to be it was going to happen. Every single venue was going to shut down. It was going to take every single promoter in the area, myself included. I didn't have anywhere to promote. It's not that I quit. I didn't have anywhere to book any shows. Everything got fucked. And we were all just like, not willing to do it. And it fucked with me for a little while, but after a while I'm like, okay, yeah. When I started to see the struggle that so many people were going through to try to keep their name out there, it was so cool when M&E did that in your house event shortly after COVID hit because it at least gave people a little bit of an outlet to continue that and keep their name out there. But how many times can you do a live stream from your house or your garage to keep people engaged? And yeah,
It's
you
not the
you hit the nail
same.
on the
It's
head.
really not
Yeah.
the same. I'm
Yeah.
actually a big hater of fucking, you know what I'm saying, like live streams and shit. Like, I participated in that and I participated in, I think, one other one that year and shit. But even though I had a fucking venue that I was paying rent on and shit, even though we were fucking shut down, I didn't want to do that shit, man. To me, concerts is, I don't care if there's fucking 5 people watching you and shit, but you can fucking feed off those 5 people's energy and shit better than you
Right.
can off of fucking 100 little
Yep.
fucking blue thumbs and fucking hearts and shit on your screen.
Yeah.
As far as performing, I mean, like, I do Patreon and you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm all for fucking, you know, podcasts, fucking promo, fucking little humorous videos and shit. Like, I love all that shit. But it's not a concert, it's different and shit. Like, so when people are like, well, you can just perform in your living room and they can watch it on their phone, and you're like, man, fuck that. That shit's
Yeah.
whack. Like,
Th-
honestly, before COVID, I was starting to kind of get a little burnt out and shit. Like, fucking, for those that are familiar with the LSP history and shit, like, you know, Gino Culshit passing really fucked me up and shit from the perspective that was such a bright, shining star. Like, you know, it was going to let me kind of fucking step back a little bit and shit, focus on bringing his music to people and shit, you know, and still do what I do, but you know, I wouldn't have to put out a fucking album, you know, every year or twice a year and shit, fucking, and do 2 3 tours every year. So yet another situation, you know what I'm saying, where death made me fucking step forward and be like, fuck, okay, fucking, you know what I'm saying, now I got to work twice as hard and shit to fucking try to fill these fucking ginormous ass shoes. So fucking the movement doesn't take a fucking step back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was getting burned out before COVID. Like, we were touring too much and shit. I was fucking, you know, still. I was questioning. You know, I got a family and shit. Fucking, I'm not the youngest anymore, so I'm like, man, like, am I doing too much and shit? Like, I'm fucking drinking myself to death on the fucking road and shit. Like, fucking, we almost die every other tour and shit. Fucking, like, what am I doing? Fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, the homies are fucking starting to fucking be like, oh, I'm getting close to paying off my house. I'm like, I don't even have one, you know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of that shit started fucking eating at me. And then when COVID hit, um, and it was so abruptly all taken away, our tours got canceled, fucking, you know what I'm saying? They were scheduled, um, not even one offs. I realized how many fucking homies I have all over the country that I only get to see because of touring and, you know, festivals and shit, gatherings, you know, um, well, whatever function you attend, floats, Gorefest, fucking, where you see them. But other than that, like, you kind of take it for granted when your lifestyle involves going 2 3 times a year and fucking traveling, and you're like, yeah, I always see my fucking peoples and shit, and all of a sudden you're like, shit, I'm stuck at home. I don't see nobody. I don't get to perform. Like, it really was a eye opener for me that reignited my love for this shit. To be
Yeah.
like, you know what? No, I'm not ready to hang it up and shit, because I almost like started taking it for granted before the shit hit.
Yeah.
you
A lot
know,
of
and
people had concert fatigue before COVID hit too. I know there was a lot of struggle for a lot of people to get people into the venues because I think especially in America, people were so spoiled. It got to a point where they're like, I don't need to go to that show. I'll see him in 6 months. That was the
absolutely.
mindset every fucking time. And it was like, you don't understand. If you don't come out this first 6 months, there's not going to be a second 6 months, but people didn't want to hear it.
People didn't want to hear it and shit. People fucking no, 100%. People got fucking spoiled. I remember when we were kids and shit. Like if there was somebody fucking dope that was playing within the 10-hour fucking radius and shit, you fucking planned a
Yeah.
road trip. You went and seen it and shit. Like it was no issue because there was so few people in horrorcore that even toured that if somebody fucking was coming around, we was gonna travel and go see them regardless of the day of the week. Before
Yeah.
COVID hit, motherfuckers wasn't like, man, you know, when are you coming to Dayton and shit, you know, fucking, and you're like, yo, well, I'm gonna be in fucking Columbus and shit, fucking. Oh man, that's a long drive. I'm like, no, it ain't.
And it's not at all, not even close,
Like,
right?
you know, or motherfuckers would be like, oh man, this is in my town, but it's a Tuesday. But I'll definitely come see you next time you're here on a Saturday.
Yeah,
You're like, the
right.
fuck, man? Maybe I won't be here on a fucking Saturday because the promoter is gonna lose their ass on this Tuesday and not book me on the
Yeah.
boat. You know what I mean? Like
My
with touring and
favorite
shit.
part on that weekday shit, the favorite part on that weekday shit would always be, man, I couldn't request off. I announced this show 2 months ago. You had 2 months to get off work. Don't lie to me and tell me you couldn't get the day off work. You didn't try.
Dog, I remember fucking when I was like still a little teenager and shit, and I was barely learning English and shit, starting to go to shows. I was working at Taco Bell. These mother washing some dishes, and these motherfuckers told me I couldn't go to this show. And I'm back there and shit, fucking on some fucking Yakuza shit. Fucking, I'm like, yep, sliced my palm and shit. I'm like, I'm bleeding all over the dishes. Accident. They're like, get out, go enjoy your show. I was like, no, I mean, I can't do it. So, they,
Oh,
how dedicated are you to making this concert, man? We all know how to
right.
call in sick. I remember the first time I got to open for Blaze many, many, many years ago and shit on Halloween. It was a big deal for us because back then Psychopathic really didn't have local openers. So I was
Yeah.
super excited and shit. So I'm calling my job. And I had a good job at the time that let me do local shows and like little traveling. So I'm calling in sick and shit. Right, like in between the sound checks and shit. And right as I'm fucking telling them how I'm dying, the fucking bass drops. And I'm like, huh. And they're like, oh, you're doing a show, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm really sick. That's just the neighbors. They're like, all right, we'll talk tomorrow and shit. Have a good show. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
yeah, if
awesome.
there's a will, there's a way and shit. And
Yeah.
that whole fucking like, and I think COVID, in a way, I mean, a lot of performers quit, a lot of performers died and shit. Fucking
Yeah.
like, it made people do realize that, like, you know what? I feel actually weekday attendance has gotten a little better. The overall attendance got worse all across the board, but
Yeah.
the weekday versus weekend got better because motherfuckers were like, you know what? Maybe I should go see this dude whose music I love and shit, fucking, and not wait till that Saturday because motherfucker might not be there and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times an artist dies and the motherfuckers that missed their fucking last tour and shit are beating the shit out of themselves on the fucking inside.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I should have really. And thinking of all the lame fucking reasons why they couldn't go. Oh man, fucking this movie was on, or fucking I didn't want to call in and use my fucking sick time, or something, something, something. I needed my sleep. And you're like, motherfuckers like that and shit, they're sitting there feeling like a whole ass hole on the inside and shit. Fucking, and I've been that motherfucker in instances where I'm like, man, this band broke up and I had a chance to go see them and I didn't. Damn, I
Yeah.
should have went and seen them. So the moral of that and shit is like, yo, if somebody you fuck with comes to your town, please go support them. Don't fucking whine about the day of the week. A touring musician leaves their fucking home, their family, their children, and guess what? There's 5 fucking weekdays to 2 weekends in every week. So they still have to fucking, they can't just park at Walmart for 5 days to make sure every city gets a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're as we wind down here because we are hitting the 45-minute mark.
Absolutely.
I I got a confession to make that I've never said really publicly here
Okay.
on what you just touched on and deciding, I'll catch him next time. This was completely accidental. However, in all the years I've been in the underground, obviously I've seen the Clowns play a million times. I've seen Blaze play a million times. I've seen Twisted probably a million and two just because of how much I've worked with them. I had never seen Dark Lotus, not one time in that entire time frame. I'm at the 17th annual, and I am up on. If you know anything about Legend Valley, the second stage is always next to that hill where it drops down and it kind of valleys up. The 17th annual, we ended up camping on where it kind of valleys up on that hill, and you can see second stage perfectly. I literally could see from my tent, I could see second stage perfectly. That night, or that gathering rather, Dark Lotus was supposed to play. However, I had spent all fucking week already partying. And I'm pretty sure that was the night AXC did their Blunts and Brew show, and I was inebriated beyond fucking comprehension at that point. I'm pretty sure that was the same night. But Dark Lotus is on, and even though it's right from my tent and I can see it, I'm like, oh, I need to get some fucking sleep, man. I'll catch him next time. I'm going to be at next year's gathering. I know it. I will catch him next year. Now, for those that haven't caught on by yet, there was never another Dark Lotus show and still has not been a Dark Lotus show to this day. I was sleeping and they were 100 fucking yards away from me. And I went to bed because I can always see him. I can see him next year. It'll be all right. Yeah, I was
Uh,
fucking wrong about that, wasn't
Perfect
I?
example, actually. Perfect fucking
Yeah.
example. And the moral is fuck your sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. 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 Yes.
and that's the excuse you get a lot of the times too when the homies pull up on that Tuesday show and shit, and they're like, "Oh man, I came through and I bought a shirt, but I got to roll. It's getting late. I got to work tomorrow." You're like, "Really?" You know what I'm saying? Like, you're here
Yeah.
for us and shit. Like, no, you're not gonna fucking get away with just buying a shirt and fucking leaving because it's getting late and shit. Hey, I want to go to bed too.
Right. Right. Yeah. And you're going to bed in an actual bed. You, the artist, is going to bed in the van or the bus or wherever it might be to the next
Wherever the
show.
fuck, what I'm saying, however it works out and shit, or the fucking, if it is a hotel, it's a fucking, what I'm saying, the snore quartet going in the background and shit, trying to fucking overpower each other.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my man, I want to say thank you for joining me today. We took this a little
My
bit,
pleasure.
a little bit late, but I appreciate you responding so quickly and getting this done before you guys hit the road. You're hitting the road with who I actually interviewed yesterday, but as of this, by the time people are watching this, it'll be a couple weeks from now. But yesterday, I interviewed Lex the Hexmaster, which was just announced
Yeah,
that he is signed to LSP. I've got I told him that I reminded him of this anyway at an episode I did with him yesterday. There were days on the Spooktacular Horror Show tour where that was my first tour. That's my first time meeting Lex, and I would not have ate some days. The whole band would not have ate some days if he didn't buy us chicken to cook on our grill. That's the kind of person that he is. And when I
it's
saw
unreal,
that
man.
he signed with you guys, man, I couldn't. I think I felt more joy in my heart than I felt since I got married, just knowing that this guy has got an opportunity to really shine. I think you guys are going to take what you've done to new heights, because I know his work ethic and obviously I know yours as well. I wish nothing but the best for both of you. It is always a pleasure whenever we cross paths. You guys are the most professional people I've ever been around, whether it be you, you and Lynch, you and whoever you're with. It's always a pleasure being around you guys. So I want to personally thank you guys for being such
You
pros.
too.
And I'm going to turn the last couple of minutes over to you guys, and or to you rather. And if you have any socials or where people can find your schedule or anything like that, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Man, well, first off, thanks again for fucking, having me on your show and shit. Fucking always good to chop it up. Hopefully it's in person next time.
Yes.
Um, by the time this interview comes out, Anti-Human will be out. So www.gorehob.com. Pick that motherfucker up and shit. Fucking album number 26 or something. Fucking, Fucking been a lot of albums, but it's a good one. It's a full length fucking record. I've been working on it for a long time. Um, Metapelli Music, who is on the tour with me and Lex, just dropped a double disc and shit. Fucking That shit is fire. Michael Lawless, who was on that tour as well, dropping a new record as soon as we fucking come back. We got more visuals coming from Lex. Singles, fucking videos, and obviously leading up to a release. The whole camp's been working and shit. We got new Triple MFD on the way and shit. New SOS with Smalls One on the way. Fucking, there's gonna be a million fucking dope festivals this summer. We're gonna work on another tour this fall. So just fuck with us and shit. Like everybody's on socials. For me personally, if y'all are trying to get a hold of me, Instagram or just email me scum412@hotmail.com. People are like, man, you don't respond to your Facebook Messenger. I don't. I fucking hate Facebook. I use it because it's a platform that we need, but I'm always shadow banned fucking for inciting violence or something fucking stupid and shit. So even though Instagram is ran by the same company and shit, I get away with a lot more shit on there. So that's the one I'm on. Facebook, you'll always find LSP News, but as far as reaching out, and just keep this underground alive. If there's a fucking show in your area, it doesn't have to be us. I don't care who you listen to and shit. I don't believe in that whole fucking op this, fucking, you know what I'm saying, this side, that side. If it's music you fuck with, does a concert, go support it and shit. Fucking, if an artist fucking drops his fucking new album and shit, fucking, if you can't afford to buy it and shit, share the fucking link. That shit is free. Drop a fucking comment. That shit is free. You know what I'm saying? Listen to it fucking on YouTube. That shit is free to you, but the artist still gets a little something. Yeah, an annoying ad or two, fucking, but guess what? You didn't have to spend $1 and you just supported that artist. Help this shit fucking bounce back from fucking, you know what I'm saying, the COVID trauma and shit. Let's rebuild it. Let's do better. You know, let's fucking actually keep the appreciation for what we love and shit, because it can go away at any time, as it's been proven. So, much love to everybody that is involved in this scene in general. Fucking, you know what I'm saying? You're doing this interview and this podcast and shit. Fucking, you helping fucking keep spotlight on this fucking music and shit. It's appreciated and fucking needed. Graphic designers, producers, merch guys, fucking, like, there's so many fucking. It's a machine with 1,000 parts, and motherfuckers just are. The band is more than the front man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
the
right.
band is all of us and shit. So much love to everybody involved in the music industry, regardless of what it is and shit, and fucking keeping this fucking scene going. Appreciate these motherfuckers. They're the core of it. So thank you again for having me on here and shit. Fucking,
Yeah.
we'll do this again anytime. I'm gonna get back to a rehearsal and fucking, I'm sure our paths will cross fucking sometime soon.
Yes, sir. Scum, it's been a pleasure, my dude.
Much love, always.